Chapter 1771. Cough, cough, cough. Yu Huang coughed violently, and was picked out by Luo Qingtong's sword from that thing. His whole body was covered in that kind of green mucus, mixed with blood and a fishy smell, making him want to vomit. What the hell is this? He looked at the huge monster below him that was screaming miserably. It was indeed a monster. Its body was like a mountain, and its fluffy hair almost covered its whole body. It looked like a tiger or a leopard, but its whole body was covered with octopus-like tentacles. Those tentacles were not covered with smooth skin, but full of scales. They looked as hard as iron and indestructible. However, at this moment, under Yi Qianxian's attack, these tentacles were constantly being cut and eliminated, without any resistance. Boom! When Yu Huang's figure was picked out by Luo Qingtong's sword, Yi Qianxian's attack also swept out in an instant. Boom! Like the moon in the sky, like a dragon roaming on the earth, the man's aura became extremely terrifying in an instant. And that ray of light that flew out from his sleeve also instantly killed that huge monster. Rumble! That monster's body was shattered in an instant. Countless blood rain fluttered, directly agitating the surrounding spiritual energy, and violently colliding with each other. It made a deafening sound, mixed with the miserable scream of that monster before its death, unceasingly reverberated in this space at the bottom of the cliff. Brother! At this time, Beiqing and others arrived. Yu Xingqi, who was being carried by them, saw the intact Yu Huang standing beside Luo Qingtong, and immediately cried and rushed over. Okay, I won't die, don't cry. Are you crying at a funeral? It was very rare to see Yu Xingqi crying like this. Yu Huang felt uncomfortable and couldn't help but retort. He still liked to see this little witch's fearless appearance. Bah, who's crying at a funeral? The wind and sand entered my eyes. Yu Xingqi spat at him with red eyes, his teeth itching. This stupid brother just couldn't treat him well. He deserved to be beaten to death. Do you think I'll be sad if you die? I will set off 180 strings of firecrackers to celebrate. You're dead. Yu Tiancheng is also dead. I can inherit the imperial sect and become the queen of the southern region. Hey, that's too much. Yu Huang glared at her. Even if I die, it won't be your turn to be the queen of the southern region. Who said I can't? I have an older sister. Yu Xingqi put his hands on his waist and said to him, hurry up and find another monster to eat you. Otherwise, I'll have to wait for you to die. A woman's heart is the most poisonous. Yu Xingqi, be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future. Just as Yu Huang was speaking, Yu Xingqi directly turned around and said to Luo Qingtong, sister, he's cursing you. What the F***? Yu Huang looked at Yu Xingqi's white and tender finger pointing at him. That firm and unwavering finger, he cursed in his heart. This little witch, she's ruthless. While the two siblings were arguing with each other, Luo Qingtong found something inside the monster's body. What is this? She looked at the silver-white object among the flesh and blood. She raised her hand and took it into her hand. Chapter 1772. Luo Qingtong looked at the grain-sized silver-white crystal, feeling very strange. The appearance of the crystal was very beautiful. Although the hexagonal shape was very irregular, it was crystal clear. In this dusky space at the bottom of the cliff, it was very conspicuous. If a metaphor had to be used to describe it, it would be like a diamond. In Luo Qingtong's hand it shined with a faint light. The crystal contained an extremely powerful strength. Luo Qingtong carefully felt it, and found that it was vaguely similar to the strength emitted from the monster's body. Was this the power crystal condensed from the monster's body? Luo Qingtong knew that there were some powerful and special monster beasts that would condense a kind of power crystal within their body. This was the source of their strength, and it was also a very nutritious thing. After a cultivator obtained it, they would be able to enhance their strength for a short period of time, allowing their strength to increase. After all, these power crystals were the essence of the monster beast's strength that had been accumulated over countless years. Although its effect was inferior to that of the Saint Realm Flower, or the Wood Spirit Heart, that Luo Qingtong had obtained before, it was enough to allow a cultivator to obtain a great increase in their strength. For someone like Yu Huang, who had used a forbidden technique to stimulate his potential and temporarily lost his strength. With the help of these power crystals, he would be able to recover as soon as possible. These power crystals could help a cultivator repair their damaged dantian and the source of their strength. But such power crystals were very rare. Out of 100,000 monster beasts, there might not even be one that could condense. This was something that depended on one's luck. And a monster beast that could condense this kind of power crystal was far more tyrannical than an ordinary monster beast. Luo Qingtong looked at the silver-white crystal in her hand. She didn't know whether this was the power crystal or not. Moreover, the strength of the monster just now was also very strange. It was actually at the Saint Master realm. It had to be known that there were monster beasts at the Saint realm and above in the true Spill continent. But almost all of them were concentrated in the far western wilderness. That was the monster beast's paradise. But even in the far western wilderness, there weren't many monster beasts at the Saint realm and above. The demonic beasts and sea monsters in the other 3 domains were already very powerful if they could surpass the Saint realm. There were almost no demonic beasts above the Saint realm. Not to mention the size of the monster just now. Among demonic beasts, the larger their body size, the harder it was to increase their strength, because it required too much power. Of course, at the same level of strength, the bigger the body, the more powerful it was. This monster's body was so large, yet it actually reached the sacred expert level, moreover condensing this type of extremely rare power crystal within its body. It was strange no matter how one looked at it. Was there really such a coincidence in this world? Furthermore, at the bottom of the cliff, it was obvious that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was extremely violent. If Luo Qingtong didn't guess wrong, this might have something to do with the spiritual qi riot in the Southern Territory. The appearance of this monster was probably not a coincidence. Luo Qingtong was lost in thought when suddenly, meow. Chapter 1773. Duda. Seeing the little white cat swallow the crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand, Yu Xingqi wanted to hit it in an instant. This gluttonous guy, when will it be able to get rid of this bad habit? She raised her hand and was about to twist its ear. You quickly spit out the thing. That's big sisters. Otherwise I'll hit you? While she was talking, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly changed. Through her eye technique, she discovered that the little white cat's body had undergone a very shocking change. Stop her! Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. At the same time, the sword in her hand swept out in an instant, slashing towards the little white cat in front of her. Big sister! Seeing this scene, Yu Xingqi's face turned pale. Although Dudu was a glutton, it was her very important companion. When Yu Xingqi was young, she experienced danger several times. It was Dudu who accompanied her and saved her. Not only that, it was the only thing her parents gave her. Big sister, don't! Just when Yu Xingqi was struggling desperately to rush over. Roar! An extremely violent voice that contained countless violent emotions and murderous aura rang out. Then, in front of everyone, the little white cat that swallowed the crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand grew bigger in an instant. In an instant, its body size returned to its previous appearance when it was carrying Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. And then it continued to grow bigger. Its limbs began to grow irregularly. Bang bang bang. Amidst its sharp and mournful screams, its body swelled violently, and then wounds began to burst out from all parts of its body. Then grotesquely shaped things that looked like crab's pincers grew out of its body. In just an instant, the little white cat turned into something similar to the monster from before. The aura around its body continued to grow stronger. At the same time, the mournful roar in its mouth became sharper and sharper. Obviously, this change was very painful for him. Not only that, but after the little white cat transformed, its fur and pincers attacked Luo Qingtong and the others. Its eyes were blood red, and it was obvious that it was unable to control itself. Dudu. Seeing this scene, Yu Xingqi finally understood why Luo Qingtong wanted to stop her, and why she wanted to attack the little white cat. Bang! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand struck the little white cat. In an instant, the monster-like little white cat was blasted away by her. Boom boom boom. The white cat's body flipped a few times in midair. Before it could stand up, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded again. Qianrun, restrain it. The little white cat was Yu Xingqi's pet. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't kill it like how she dealt with the monster before. In fact, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong deliberately holding back her strength, the little white cat would have been killed by her sword just now. After all, with Luo Qingtong's true strength at this moment, the little white cat, who had just improved its strength, was not her opponent at all. Even the monster from before, if Yi Qianming didn't make a move, Luo Qingtong could deal with it alone. Swish, Yi Qianxian waved his sleeve and restrained the little white cat. Chapter 1774. There a silver-white crystal was constantly rotating, emitting waves of power. Those waves of power merged into the little white cat's body, turning it into its current state. It turned out that the monster from before also became like this. Luo Qingtong thought so. The life and death yin-yang sword in her hand instantly swept out and stabbed the silver-white crystal, picking it out with a bang. Roar! After the crystal was picked out of its body, the little white cat immediately fell to the ground. Its body size rapidly shrank and soon it returned to the size of a palm. Meow! It raised its head weakly and called out to Yu Xingqi. When the latter returned to its normal size, he had already covered his mouth and rushed up with tears in his eyes. Seeing it like this, he immediately raised his hand and slapped it fiercely. Bastard! I told you long ago not to be so greedy. But you didn't listen. Look at you now. You almost ate yourself to death, didn't you? As Yu Xingqi said this, he cried and fell in front of the little white cat, hugging it tightly. You stinky dog. You scared me to death. You scared me to death. Yu Xingqi cried sadly. But Luo Qingtong had already taken the silver-white crystal in her hand. Compared to before, this silver-white crystal had shrunk a lot. Obviously, the reduced size was transformed into energy that was absorbed by the little white cat. That was why it turned into that monster-like appearance just now. Luo Qingtong walked in front of the little white cat. The latter was gently licking Yu Xingqi and comforting him. Sensing Luo Qingtong's approach, or rather, sensing the aura of the crystal, it suddenly raised its head and stared at the silver-white crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand. It could be seen that if it wasn't for the fact that it was injured and couldn't move, it would have jumped up and rushed towards the silver-white crystal again. You're still looking. Haven't you suffered enough just now? Yu Xingqi looked at its appearance and instantly became angry. He raised his hand and twisted its ear. However, even if it was being pulled by Luo Qingtong until it meowed, the little white cat's gaze was still unable to move away from Luo Qingtong's hands. It had just gone through a painful torture, so it was impossible for it not to know the dangers of this crystal. The only explanation was that it couldn't resist the temptation of the crystal. This thing is very attractive to it. Yu Sihuang came to Luo Qingtong's side at this time. He looked at the silver-white crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand with a grave expression. What exactly was this crystal? To actually be able to turn a demonic beast into such a state. However, the power contained within it was indeed astonishing. If it wasn't for the fact that the consequence of consuming these powers was to turn into a monster and lose their rationality, this was definitely a good thing, a great tonic. Could the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the southern region be related to this crystal? Luo Qingtong's thoughts were similar to his. She looked at the crystal in her hand. Under the light of her pupil technique, the power of this crystal showed a dark gray color. It was unknown how many impurities were entangled in it, making the power of this crystal look very turbid. Otherwise, by relying on the power of this crystal, her strength could increase again. Chapter 1775. With that in mind, Luo Qingtong prepared to put the crystal away. She would study how to remove these impurities when she returned to the imperial city. However, just as her hand touched her useless ring, with a swoosh, a small leaf rolled out and wrapped around the crystal in her hand. Luo Qingtong was shocked. She looked down at the small leaf. It was clearly the leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree. While she was still in shock, she saw the leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree wrap around the crystal, and instantly, streaks of silver-gray aura were sucked out of the crystal and swept into the ancient heavenly spirit tree's young leaf. Swoosh! The ancient heavenly spirit tree's leaf became even more verdant. After absorbing the silver-gray aura, the entire leaf seemed to be extremely nourished and watered. As the ancient heavenly spirit tree absorbed the aura, the crystal's silver-white luster instantly receded. The entire crystal became crystal clear in an instant. It looked like an extremely beautiful glass bead. An extremely dense energy that made people feel relaxed and happy was being emitted from it. This power was different from the one Luo Qingtong felt from the crystal. It seemed to have been completely reborn. Smack! The crystal fell back into Luo Qingtong's hand. The leaf of the ancient heavenly spirit tree had already retreated after absorbing the silver-gray aura. This has it been purified? Luo Qingtong looked at the crystal in her hand in surprise. The latter's appearance and aura were completely different from before. At this moment, a hand reached out from beside her and took the crystal. The power inside can be absorbed now. Yi Qianxian's aura circled around the crystal. Then he handed it back to Luo Qingtong. The power inside is very suitable for experts above the Saint Realm to absorb. I'm afraid this crystal is not an ordinary item. Yi Qianren could feel an extremely pure aura of power within it. He didn't pay much attention to this aura before it was contaminated by the impurities. Now that the impurities were removed, he immediately sensed the difference. This was not the ordinary spiritual aura of heaven and earth, but the higher level of immortal spiritual aura. It was only found in the outer realm. It was the main spiritual aura for experts above the venerable realm to cultivate. At their level, ordinary spiritual aura of heaven and earth could no longer satisfy their cultivation needs. They had to absorb immortal spiritual aura. However, ordinary immortal spiritual aura could not be absorbed by experts below the venerable realm, unless the other party's continent was very high level and had immortal spiritual aura itself. In this way, cultivators below that level would be able to absorb the immortal qi and rapidly increase their strength. The true Spill continent where Luo Qingtong was located was a low-level continent, had no immortal spiritual aura at all. Even if Yi Qianxian gave her immortal spiritual aura, she would not be able to absorb it. But now, the immortal spiritual aura in this crystal carried the aura of the true Spill continent. It could be absorbed by Luo Qingtong. This was strange. As Yi Qianxian was thinking, Yu Sihuang's voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 1776. Immortal Jade Bone. It's an immortal jade bone. Immortal jade bone? What's that? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Immortal jade bone is the condensation of the aura essence of the fallen immortal land in the hidden world. Yu Sihuang was afraid that Luo Qingtong didn't know about the fallen immortal land, so he immediately explained. It is said that there was a great war in the true Spill continent in the hidden world. I don't know the specific reason, but at that time, many powerhouses from outside the domain joined in. After they died, their aura condensed and did not dissipate, forming a very special place in the hidden world. That is the fallen immortal land. There are many good things inside, but at the same time, it is also very dangerous. The aura inside has a corrosive effect on people and beasts. If you stay there for a long time, you will become a walking corpse and finally die inside. The only thing that can counteract this aura is the immortal jade bone condensed from the essence of their aura. Yu Sihuang looked at the transparent crystal in Luo Qingtong's hand as he spoke. No wonder the spiritual energy of the southern domain is so violent. It should be because of the appearance of this immortal jade bone. In the hidden world, the fallen immortal land's aura will fluctuate violently every year. At that time, immortal jade bones will be thrown out and scattered all over the hidden world. If you obtain these immortal jade bones, you will be able to enter the fallen immortal land and explore when its aura is weak. I didn't expect that the fallen immortal land's eruption would cause these immortal jade bones to appear in the southern domain. It's strange. Yu Sihuang didn't think of the immortal jade bones before. After all, the immortal jade bones had always erupted in the hidden world and had never appeared in other places. He had only heard of the immortal jade bones, but he had never seen them before. The reason why he thought of the immortal jade bones was because Yi Qianxian said that the power inside was very suitable for Sage Realm powerhouses to absorb. Such a thing, in addition to the spiritual energy of the southern domain before, made Yu Huang think of the immortal jade bones. So that's how it is. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. No wonder the ancient heavenly spirit could purify this crystal. If the other party had immortal jade bones, then it wouldn't be surprising. After all, the ancient heavenly spirit fed on Yin souls and death aura. The silver-gray aura that was absorbed from the crystal was the immortal jade bones of the powerhouses who died in the fallen immortal land, right? It condensed together. It formed a thing that was tightly connected with the essence of those aura. Once it was absorbed into the body's body, it would immediately be controlled by the remnant soul's resentment, causing one would lose their sanity. Not only that, but if a large amount of death energy and resentment entered the body, it would also mutate a person into a monster-like existence. Luo Qingtong immediately knew what was going on between the white cat and that monster. However, the death chi was completely absorbed by the ancient heavenly spiritual wood. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, her lips curled up. Immortal jade bones. This was a good thing. Not only would Luo Qingtong not have to worry about going to the fallen immortal land in the future, but she could also use the power inside to improve herself. Moreover, the ancient heavenly spirit could also grow greatly. After all, that was a primordial divine tree. Chapter 1777. Let's go. Let's look around and see if there are any other immortal jade bones, Luo Qingtong said as she walked outside. As it turned out, there were many more. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian, and the others strolled around the bottom of the cliff and found that this was a huge pit. The space of the cliff was very large. It was unknown how many li it spanned. The group walked around for a while and killed several monsters that had mutated because they swallowed the immortal jade bones. Most of these monsters were at the Saint Realm and Saint Realm. None of them were lower than the Saint Realm. After Luo Qingtong killed them, she took out the immortal jade bones from their bodies and found that the quality of these immortal jade bones was different. The stronger the monster, the higher the quality of the immortal jade bones. These immortal jade bones were extremely tempting to monsters. Almost every time an immortal jade bone came out, Yu Xingqi desperately hugged the fluttering little white cat in his arms to prevent it from recklessly rushing towards the immortal jade bones. Every time Luo Qingtong obtained an immortal jade bone, she would let the ancient heavenly spirit absorb the death energy and resentment within. After absorbing these, the color of the ancient heavenly spirit become more verdant, and its figure became more tall and straight. After Luo Qingtong let it absorb the death energy of several immortal jade bones, she found that it quietly grew a little taller. At the same time, on the branch, a small green dot protruded. It was obvious that another leaf was about to grow. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong was very happy. The leaves of this ancient heavenly spirit were very useful to her. Being able to activate the soul seal talent, this was simply too great. Luo Qingtong naturally wanted it to grow more leaves. And Yu Huang also recovered his strength from the immortal jade bones after a series of kills by Luo Qingtong. After all, the aura of this immortal jade bone was a higher level of immortal spiritual energy. It could completely heal the injuries caused by the stimulation of his body before. Not only that, it also healed some of the hidden dangers in his body. Tong, let's go back to Imperial City first, he suggested. The space at the bottom of the cliff is very large. We can't explore it in a short time. If I'm not wrong, this should be the source of the spiritual energy turbulence in the southern region. It's also the place where the immortal jade bones erupted and scattered. Let's go back to Imperial City first. I'll settle the matter of the Imperial sect. When the time comes, send people to surround this place. We can't let these monsters run out. The space at the bottom of the cliff was not sealed. Once those monsters who ate the immortal jade bones ran out, it would be difficult to find them. Furthermore, Yu Huang was also worried about the Imperial sect. Okay, Luo Qingtong nodded. She wanted to search the bottom of the cliff was the number of the immortal jade bones. From the looks of it, she was still very satisfied. SSSSSSSSS. Thus, the immortals is thus say. Says very clearly, the quality of the immortal jade bones here was too low for her. That was indeed the case. The monsters that would wander around the edge of the cliff were all relatively weak. The powerful monsters were all in the center, fighting each other to seize the immortal jade bones in their bodies. Only those who were too weak would go to the edge to avoid those powerful monsters. We'll go back first. Chapter 1778. She would first settle the matter of the imperial sect, before continuing to explore the space at the bottom of the cliff. Moreover, even though her strength hadn't improved completely, she'd improved from a beginner saint to a low-level saint. Luo Qingtong was prepared to go back and consolidate her strength. Moreover, Yu Sihuang's words were reasonable. The space at the bottom of the cliff must be surrounded to prevent those monsters from escaping and wasting those immortal jade bones. One must know that one could never have too many of these things. Luo Qingtong could not use the immortal jade bones outside, but she could give them to the people around her. Old Man Luo, Empress Dowager Yanxi, Suyu Su Xiaoxiao, Tian Xia, and the others, which one of them did not need to increase their strength. Not to mention, the immortal jade bones were extremely beneficial to the growth of the ancient heavenly spiritual wood. Luo Qingtong could not let go of this opportunity. Using the people of the imperial sect to surround this place would not attract attention. After all, this was their territory. They just needed to make up an excuse. If Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were to transfer people here, it would attract attention. This immortal jade bone was something that many people coveted in the hidden world. Luo Qingtong did not want to complicate matters. Swish, the group of people rushed out of the cliff and headed towards the imperial sect. In the imperial sect, a group of people were hung up high. Wu Tianyin, you betrayed the sect master. You will die a horrible death. Luo Li was hung at the front. He looked at the people who betrayed Yu Sihuang in front of him with resentment. When he received the news of the incident at the imperial sect, he immediately rushed back from outside. However, he did not expect that the people of the imperial sect betrayed Yu Sihuang and turned to Yu Tiansheng. When Luo Li and the others came back, they were surrounded and captured. Not only that, they also found out from the mouths of these people that Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi were chased by Yu Tiansheng. They were most likely dead. When everyone thought of this, they suddenly felt a burst of sorrow. They cursed at Wu Tianyin and the others. These people were all promoted by Yu Sihuang. To be able to have his current strength and status, it was all because of Yu Sihuang. In the end, the latter was heavily injured and temporarily lost his strength. Coincidentally, the southern region was in turmoil, and Yu Tiansheng made things difficult for them. Thus, they completely sold Yu Sihuang out. Truly cruel and unscrupulous, worse than pigs and dogs. Humph, die a horrible death? Are you talking about yourselves and Yu Sihuang? Don't worry, he is indeed going to die a horrible death. And you guys too. Wu Tianyin and the others sneered. They didn't care about Luo Li's words at all. Yu Sihuang was chased away by Yu Tiansheng. He definitely wouldn't survive. Who was going to make them die a horrible death? Are they? What a joke. Haha. Wu Tianyin and the others burst into laughter as they thought of this. Don't worry, we'll send you to him soon. Their faces were gloomy. When the time comes, remember to send our greetings to the sect leader. Ask him if he was comfortable down there, and if he died miserably. Haha. The crowd laughed even louder as they spoke. Just as Luo Li and the rest were enraged and struggling with all their might, a cold voice rang out. Why don't you ask me yourself? As this voice rang out, the laughter of Wu Tianyin and the others seemed to have been paused. They turned their heads around mechanically. Chapter 1779. Their expression was as if they were in a dream. Luo Li and the others also looked at the direction where the voice came from with excitement. Sect Master. At the entrance of Imperial Sect, Yu Sihuang was wearing a purple robe. His devilish face was filled with a murderous aura. He raised his hand and stroked the mole at the corner of his eye. Looking at the shocked Wu Tianyin and the others, he was as charming as a demon. Not bad, you still miss me so much. Indeed, I have trained you for so long. Yu Sihuang said as he smiled towards them. That extremely enchanting face was even more soul-stirring. However, I am unable to answer your 2 questions. How about this? I will send you down to see Yu Tiancheng. Maybe he can answer you. You. Impossible. Wu Tianyin and the others looked at Yu Sihuang's direction in panic. How is this possible? Yu Sihuang did not die. But soon they calmed down again. Sect Master, I never thought you could escape from Yu Tiancheng's hands. It must have been very hard, right? The group sneered at the wounds on Yu Sihuang's body and the damage on his clothes. Naturally, these were the wounds that the latter accidentally touched when he was killing those monsters. Because they were not serious, he was too lazy to deal with them. At this moment, these wounds and the damage on his clothes were taken by Wu Tianyin and the others as the evidence of Yu Sihuang escaping from Yu Tiancheng's hands. They immediately calmed down. Sect Master, the feeling of being chased is not good, right? The group had a mocking smile on their faces. Without strength. So what if Yu Sihuang escaped from Yu Tiancheng's hands? He still wanted to send them to see Yu Tiancheng. What a joke. Send them with what? With his mouth. Did Yu Sihuang think that he was still the imperial sect master, that everyone would follow his words? The group had a mocking expression on their faces. But sect master, it's good that you are back. We are about to send Luo Li and the others on their way. Let's send you up too. As they spoke, they waved their hands. Men, come and catch him. Looking at those people rushing over. Before Yu Sihuang could say anything, a burst of laughter suddenly came from behind him. Haha. Stupid brother, you still want to act cool. Now you've embarrassed yourself, haven't you? While speaking, Yu Xingqi came out from behind him with the little white cat in his arms. He made a funny face at him, then laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. Yeah, Yu Sihuang's demonic smile did not change, but the words coming out of his mouth were abnormally cold. Had I known earlier, I would have made a move straight away. Bang! As he spoke, he raised his hand and twisted off the head of the imperial family's disciple, who was the first to reach him. Then, he stood up and rushed towards Wu Tianyin and the others. The latter and the others were horrified to the extreme. Yu Sihuang's strength has recovered. His strength had actually recovered. Everyone turned around and tried to escape. However, in front of Yu Sihuang, who had completely recovered his strength, how could they escape? In just an instant they were all wiped out. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Even before they died, they still didn't know what was going on. And just as they were about to take their last breaths, suddenly, a panicked voice came from outside. Chapter 1780. Haha. Hearing this, Wu Tianyin held on to his last breath and laughed loudly. Besieged by the sects of the 3 islands and 7 earths. It must be. Yu Sihuang, you're finished. He looked at Yu Sihuang's direction with a ferocious expression. His words were filled with joy and pride. Haha, so what if you kill us? The imperial sect's strength has been greatly reduced. Now that we're dead, the imperial sect is no different from an empty shell. Ha ha ha. How can you reverse the situation by yourself? The imperial sect will be destroyed. Yu Sihuang, you'll be buried with us. Haha. His voice was proud and sharp, as if he could already see Yu Sihuang and the others dying without a burial place. After all, the other party was the sect master of the imperial sect, and was the most hated person by the sects of the 3 islands and 7 earths. Ha ha ha. His laughter was unusually sharp and ear-piercing. At this moment a chuckling voice sounded. Really? How about we join in? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she appeared with Yi Qianming and the others. This group of people had arrived with Yu Sihuang long ago, but the latter said that he wanted to solve this matter by himself, so they hid and watched the show. They didn't expect to see such a big show. I didn't expect you to have such a master and servant relationship. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yu Sihuang and said, I didn't expect you to be buried with them. How about it? Do you need us to collect your corpse? When she said this, Yu Xingqi burst out laughing. Yi Qianming and the others also had a faint smile on their faces. Especially Yi Qianming. He gently held Luo Qingtong's hand. He was very happy to see Yu Sihuang suffer this time, who asked him to act cool. As for Yu Sihuang, his entire face turned green. Tiske. His face was filled with grief. "Don't stab me in the heart like this. Leave me some face." As for Wu Tianyun and the others, when Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming appeared, they had already swallowed their breaths in horror. They had already recognized Yi Qianming's identity. The man wore a dark golden robe and a dark golden mask. His aura was like a bottomless abyss. In addition to Yu Sihuang's groaning sound, how could they not know that the two people who had appeared were evil Dr. Ghost Eye and Blackfield Ming Zun? With these two people here, in addition to the many experts of the Black Field, how could anything happen to the Imperial sect? To think that they were so proud of themselves, thinking that even if Yu Sihuang killed them, they would be buried with them. But now, it seems it was just a joke. Everyone swallowed their anger unwillingly. Their hearts were filled with unspeakable regret. If they had known earlier that Yu Sihuang and the Blackfield Ming Zun did not have any enmity, not only that, the other party had personally come to rescue him, why would they betray Yu Sihuang? Indeed, one wrong step and everything would be overturned. Everyone was completely dead. As for Yu Sihuang, after ordering Luo Li and the others to clean up the Imperial Gate, he left the Imperial City with Luo Qingtong and the others. Outside the Imperial City, a group of sects from the 3 islands and 7 lands gathered, preparing to launch an attack. They had received accurate news that there was a rebellion in the Imperial sect, and Yu Sihuang's whereabouts were unknown. Not only that, they had also found out that the latter had lost his strength. Everyone was forced to unite because of Yu Sihuang's strength and methods. Chapter 1781. Without Yu Sihuang, what was the Imperial sect to them? Not to mention that the Imperial sect had suffered heavy losses in the spiritual energy riot in the southern region. That was even less of a reason to be afraid. If they weren't afraid of Yu Sihuang's methods, they would have taken action when the Imperial sect suffered heavy losses. Now that the Imperial sect was in chaos, it gave them the best opportunity to take action. It was laughable that Yu Tiancheng thought that after killing Yu Sihuang and taking over the Imperial sect, he would be the overlord of the southern region. It was just a joke. People of the Imperial sect, if you immediately open the door and surrender, we might leave you with a complete corpse. Otherwise what? A cold voice sounded at this moment. Then a purple figure appeared on the city walls of the Imperial sect. Otherwise we will destroy the entire city. Not a single one will be left alive. The person from the 3 islands and 7 lands who spoke did not see the scene on the city walls. When he finished speaking, he saw the purple figure standing on the city walls, almost as if he was floating in the air. When that devilishly charming face entered his eyes, his heart instantly palpitated with fear and trepidation. Yu Sihuang? Why would he appear here? Wasn't he chased out of the Imperial sect by the internal rebellion, and was being chased by Yu Tiancheng and the rest? And his strength? The people from the 3 islands and 7 lands looked at the cold aura around Yu Sihuang, and their eyelids twitched. What was going on? Didn't they say that he lost all his strength, so he was unable to suppress the rebellion in the Imperial sect? However, from the looks of it, his strength did not seem to be damaged at all. Everyone was shocked, and Yu Sihuang had already waved his sleeves. The lives of the people of the Imperial sect are here. If you have the ability, then come and take it yourselves. As he spoke, the gates of the Imperial sect opened with a boom, and it was already wide open, without any defense. Instantly, the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands were in an uproar. Soon someone shouted loudly, "Everyone, don't be fooled by him. Even if Yu Sihuang didn't have anything to do with the rebellion of the Imperial sect, the strength of the Imperial sect is still very weak. Let's not be scared by him. He's definitely bluffing. Let's charge in together. Otherwise, if the people of the Imperial sect recover, the ones who will suffer will be us." As this person spoke, the hearts of the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands trembled. That's right, they had already fought their way here. If they retreated now and waited for Yu Sihuang to restore the Imperial sect, then all of them would not be able to bear the consequences. With that thought in mind, everyone drew their weapons and charged towards the Imperial city. These people. Yu Sihuang looked at the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths, who rushed up and clenched his teeth. Were these people in such a hurry to court death? How could they not know his methods? Without a certain degree of certainty, would he dare to open the city gates? Bluff. Bluff your sister. All right, make your move, he said with a face full of annoyance. If possible, he naturally did not want to owe Yi Qianxian a favor. But at this moment, the people of the imperial sect had just experienced a rebellion. If they were to forcefully attack, who knew how many people would be lost? Chapter 1782. Pfft. His voice sounded. In an instant, Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong, and the others appeared beside him. Luo Qingtong had a smile on her face. She couldn't help it. Yi Qianxian looked at him indifferently. Tong tong. Before he could finish his words, Yu Sihuang gritted his teeth and spoke. Okay, I won't call you that anymore. Bastard. In order to prevent him from calling him that, this person really didn't let go of any chance. Yu Sihuang was depressed. When he looked at the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths in front of him, his gaze became even more gloomy. It's all because of these guys. He couldn't call Luo Qingtong Tong Tong anymore. Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive. His voice was cold. His action of stroking the mole under his eye was full of murderous intent. These people, he gave them a chance to leave, but they didn't want to leave. Since that was the case, then they should all leave their lives here. Boom. As Yu Sihuang's voice sounded, Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others appeared with the people from the black field behind them. They charged towards the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths. Sounds of attacks sounded one after another. Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others' auras were like rainbows. This group of people behind Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong had extraordinary fighting power. It was almost a face-to-face confrontation. They killed the people from the 3 islands and 7 earths in front of them. In an instant, the latter and the others were shocked. Black field. They looked at the neatly dressed people from the black field behind Beiqing and Fengyu, and their hearts trembled. The people from the black field actually interfered with the matters of the imperial sect? Not only that, but they also personally dealt with them? Everyone's hearts trembled. At this moment, someone suddenly raised his head and saw Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong standing beside Yu Sihuang. Putting aside the latter for the time being, he immediately saw through the man's identity. Blackfield Mingzun. It's the Blackfield Mingzun. That person's face was filled with shock. He might not know Yi Qianxian, but with the dark golden mask on his face and the strength shown by Beiqing and Fengyu, how many people in the black field could order them around? Not to mention that the other party was standing side by side with Yu Sihuang. He screamed the moment he saw Yi Qianxian. When he saw the man hugging Luo Qingtong tightly, he gasped. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It's Blackfield's Mingzun and Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Knowing the identity of the 2 people on the city wall, the people from the 3 islands and 7 lands didn't even have the slightest thought of resisting. Someone as strong as Mingzun of the Black Field could cover the sky with one hand. What's more, the Great Yong sacred dynasty was annihilated by him overnight. It could be seen that the Black Field's strength was tyrannical and terrifying. These people from the 3 islands and 7 lands took advantage of the fact that the imperial sect's strength was greatly damaged, and Yu Sihuang was in trouble, not to mention facing the Black Field. Everyone fled in panic. However, when they rushed towards the imperial sect, their fate was already sealed. Yu Sihuang immediately ordered the imperial sect to activate the defensive barrier of the imperial sect, enveloping them within. If the people from the Black Field weren't here, the defensive barrier wouldn't be of much use. It would only allow the people from the imperial sect to hold on for a while. Chapter 1783. Everyone who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Yu Sihuang and destroy the imperial family all let out shrill screams as they rushed to the city gates. Their faces were filled with despair as they were killed by the people of the Black Field one by one. They couldn't escape even if they wanted to. They had paid a huge price for their ambition and greed. Bang bang bang. Outside the imperial family, the smell of blood filled the air. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianxian, and Yu Si Huang had already returned to the imperial family. Tong. Yu Si Huang had just said this when he saw Yi Qianxian glare at him. Instantly he clenched his teeth. Bastard, this damn man. Qing Tong, he said with an unwilling expression. Humph, if you don't want me to call you Tong Tong, can't I call you Qing Tong? Although it wasn't as intimate as Tong Tong. Thinking of this, Yu Si Huang's heart felt stifled. Yi Qianxian, this bastard, just you wait. Sooner or later, he will return to this level. Qing Tong, after I clean up the matters of the imperial family, I will immediately seal off the space at the bottom of the cliff. I will first send someone to investigate how big that place is, and whether there are any other places like it in the Southern Territory. Yu Si Huang was the master of the imperial family, the overlord of the Southern Territory. When it came to serious matters, his expression turned solemn. Luo Qingtong nodded. She also had this intention. After all, the Southern Territory was Yu Si Huang's territory. Leaving this matter to him was the right choice. The appearance of the immortal jade bone this time was a rare opportunity for them. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to increase her strength before going to the hidden world. However, the spiritual energy in the true Spill continent was barren. Being able to reach the Saint Realm through the heart of 10,000 trees was already the limit. The sudden appearance of the immortal jade bones in the true Spill continent was a good thing for her and the people around her. Through the power of the immortal jade bones, they could improve themselves like the people in the hidden world. They didn't have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy in the true Spill continent. Luo Qingtong sneered as she thought of the Breeze Pavilion's order to cancel the qualifications of Su Xiaoxiao and the others to enter the hidden world. Martial Uncle Zhang thought that this would prevent them from improving their strength. However, even if she didn't go to the hidden world, she could still increase the strength of Ma Chenyi and the others. At that time, whether they could go to the hidden world or not would not be up to the Breeze Pavilion. Yu Si Huang to the Southern Territory. With Black. When the time came, they would kill monsters in the outer space of the cliff, temper themselves, and enhance their strength. She would purify the power of the immortal jade bones for them. Seeing Luo Qingtong think of him, Yi Qianxian's lips curved up in a smile. He held the slender waist of the girl in his arms and listened to her talk about the next plan with a smile of exultation. In his heart, there was a strange sense of satisfaction that came from a peaceful life. Was this the first time he had been taken care of by someone? Yi Qianxian deeply looked at the young girl in front of him. Ever since he met Luo Qingtong, his life had been broken again and again. The first time he was teased, the first time he was helpless, the first time. There were too many firsts. To be able to meet Luo Qingtong, this was perhaps the greatest accident of his life. And he liked this accident. Chapter 1784. Luo Qi. He suddenly called out. Then, under Luo Qingtong's puzzled gaze, he kissed her. Between the heavens and the earth, there was only one person. She loved him, and she would never let him down. Yu Si Huang quickly explored the southern domain. Besides the space at the bottom of the cliff, there were many other places where those monsters had appeared. Those places were the places where the spiritual energy in the southern domain had the most violent outbursts. However, the other places weren't large. Only the space at the bottom of the cliff was enormous. The further down they went, the deeper and larger it became. It was as if the entire mountain range and several other mountain ranges had been hollowed out. Obviously, the space at the bottom of the cliff was the source of this outburst of spiritual energy. Moreover, it was the place where the immortal jade bones had fallen the most. Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian stood on the cliff of this space at the bottom of the cliff. The space here has traces of loosening. The man's eyes were deep. Yi Qianxian's eyes narrowed as he looked at the almost endless space at the bottom of the cliff in front of him. He and Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others had explored the area and found that the space here had loosened. Someone had opened a space here that led to the outside. It was likely because of this that when the aura of the land of the fallen immortals erupted in the hidden world, it followed the traces of the space loosening and erupted in the southern domain. Someone opened this passage that led to the outside. That is to say, someone went through here to go to the outside? Luo Qingtong looked at him with surprise. She knew that Yi Qianxian and the others didn't need to go through the hidden world to enter and exit the outside. In the true Spill continent, how many people could do this? Without knowing why, Luo Qingtong inexplicably thought of the blue smoke in Feng Wan's body. She narrowed her eyes. Could it be the other party? If so, then it could explain why she couldn't find Feng Wan's whereabouts. She was afraid that she had already gone to the outside. Yi Qianxian nodded. The other party should have taken advantage of the eruption of aura from the land of the fallen immortals to forcefully open the passage from True Spill continent to the outer realms. After that, it didn't close. The aura of the land of the fallen immortals erupted and spread over here. If it weren't for this, then with the firm barrier between the hidden world and the True Spill continent, there wouldn't have been a situation where the immortal jade bone erupted in the southern domain after the aura of the fallen immortal erupted. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. If that was the case, then everything made sense. No wonder the celestial jade bone had never erupted outside of the hidden world for so many years. This time, it had suddenly appeared in the southern region. However, this also happened to help him. Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly. Let's go, Qianren. Let's go down. The group of people flew down the cliff. At the bottom of the cliff, Elder Luo, Su Yu and Su Xiaoxiao were all there. They had been summoned by Luo Qingtong. After arriving here, they realized that what Luo Qingtong had brought them was a great opportunity. The power contained within the immortal jade bone was extremely pure. Moreover, it was a higher level of immortal spirit energy. After everyone took it, their strength rose steadily. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had already taken the wood spirit heart, and their strength had risen to the sage realm. Chapter 1785. However, after that, the increase in their strength slowed down. This was normal. No matter how pure the energy in the immortal jade bone was, it was not an elixir. It was impossible to raise their strength to a high level all of a sudden. They needed to slowly increase their comprehension step by step. The reason why they were able to surpass the sage realm was because their previous level was too low, and it was their first time coming into contact with the mortal spiritual energy. Everyone was very excited to see Luo Qingtong. They all gathered around her. Qingtong. Boss. Master. Luo Qingtong nodded at them. Then she saw little Overlord Yuan and the others scratching their heads and wanting to call Yi Qianxian. She immediately called them back. This group of idiots should know their place. Grandpa, you guys stay here and increase your strength. Qianren and I will go to the center of the cliff to take a look. The immortal jade bones around them were not enough for Luo Qingtong to increase her strength. She had to go deeper. Since this space was opened by someone, she had to go and seal the space with Yi Qianxian. Otherwise, if this space was left open and the aura of the fallen immortal land continued to pour in, it would cause irreversible consequences. Luo Qingtong did not want the southern region, or even the entire True Spill continent, to become the next fallen immortal land. Alright, Qingtong, be careful. Grandfather Luo and the others also knew that the formation of the space at the bottom of the cliff was not normal. In the past few days, they had already hunted many monsters that had swallowed the immortal jade bones. They found that not only did their numbers not decrease, they were increasing. Not only that, but their strength was also increasing. Obviously, there was something strange in the depths of this space. Luo Qingtong looked at them and nodded. She purified all the immortal jade bones that Grandfather Luo and the others had hunted, and then gave them to them. Then she went to the depths of the space at the bottom of the cliff with Yi Qianming and Yu Sihuang. After absorbing the death energy in the immortal jade bones, the sapling of the ancient heavenly spirit tree grew even more vigorously. The branches around it stretched out, and 4 more leaves appeared on the branches. Luo Qingtong looked at the 4 leaves and was in a very good mood. These 4 leaves represented 4 soul seal talents. Luo Qingtong was not in a hurry to consume them. She wanted to let them grow for a while. This was because Little Pig had told him that plucking too many leaves in the early stages would affect the ancient heavenly spirit tree's growth. This was similar to how a cultivator's foundation would be damaged too much in the early stages, and it would be very difficult for them to improve in the later stages. Luo Qingtong naturally didn't want to affect the growth of the ancient heavenly spiritual wood, so she let the 4 leaves grow there first. When she needed them in the future, she would pluck them. The group plunged into the depths of the space at the bottom of the cliff. The monsters they encountered along the way were much stronger than those in the periphery. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianming, and the others hunted their way over. Because Yu Sihuang had to take care of the people of the imperial sect, and he didn't get along with Yi Qianming, the two parted ways halfway. Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianming, and the others kept going deeper and deeper. The group plunged towards the center of the space. While Yi Qianming accompanied Luo Qingtong to kill monsters, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others spread out, looking for the space that had been torn open. Chapter 1786. Rumble. There was a loud explosion of heaven and earth's spiritual energy. A huge spatial crack suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, a figure with a majestic aura stepped out from it. Pavilion Master. The middle-aged man in the lead had a powerful aura that almost crossed the sun and moon. That terrifying aura was clearly above the Saint Marquis realm. It already had the fluctuations of a Saint King realm. Obviously, this person's comprehension had reached the Saint King realm. He had crossed the threshold between the Saint Lord realm and the Saint King realm. It was just that the power in his body was not enough, so he had not advanced to the Saint King realm. Even so, he could already display some of the power of a Saint King realm. Once the power in his body was enough, he would immediately advance to the Saint King realm. He hummed in a low voice, his eyes sweeping over the scene around him. Then, he looked at the person in front of him and said, "Are you sure that there is a spatial crack in the true Spill continent that can shake it open and leak out the aura of the fallen immortal land?" The Breeze Pavilion Master's eyes narrowed. Opening the passage from the hidden world to the true Spill continent had cost the Breeze Pavilion a lot. The entire sect's heritage was almost gone. If it weren't for the news that Elder Zhang and the others had sent, he would never have mobilized so many people. However, if this news was true, then it was great news for the Breeze Pavilion. It had to be known that in the hidden world, the competition for the immortal jade bones was very fierce. For a 6th grade sect like the Breeze Pavilion to stand out and obtain a large number of immortal jade bones was absolutely impossible. However, the secular land of the true Spill continent was different. The people here were not worth mentioning to the Breeze Pavilion. To put it bluntly, if they wanted to slaughter all the powerhouses in this secular land, these people could only wait for death. In such a situation, wouldn't it be easy for them to obtain the immortal jade bones? There would be no interference at all. Yes. The old man who spoke earlier replied. We specially sent Marshal Nephew Zhang and the others to investigate. We are very sure that there is a space crack in the southern territory. If we can shake open that space crack, we will be able to obtain the aura of the land of the fallen immortals. At that time, we will be able to obtain a large number of immortal jade bones. The old man said with a certain expression, but soon he frowned again. But Marshal Nephew Zhang and the others disappeared after they sent the message. There hasn't been any reply for so long, so I don't know where they went. Even Yin and the others are missing. After the people of the Cool Breeze Pavilion obtained the news of High Master Zhang, they immediately began to prepare to open the channel to the true Spill continent. They had already left the Cool Breeze Pavilion, so they naturally didn't know that High Master Zhang and Song Yan's life tokens had already shattered. It's fine. Don't worry, Great Elder, the Breeze Pavilion Master said nonchalantly. With Elder Zhang's strength and cultivation, how could there possibly be anyone in true Spill continent capable of doing anything to them? You don't have to worry too much. Marshal Uncle Zhang was severely taught a lesson by Yi Qianming and was then framed by Luo Qingtong. Because he was afraid of being reprimanded by the sect, he did not dare to report this matter. Chapter 1787. The Great Elder nodded in agreement. He wasn't really worried that something would happen to Song Yan and the others. He was just saying it. Just as the pavilion master said. How could there be anyone in the true Spill continent who could hurt Elder Zhang? A saint general? That was simply a joke. After the breeze pavilion master said that, he didn't bother about this matter anymore. Pavilion master, let's go to the southern region immediately. The immortal jade bone is more important. As for Yen and the others, they should just be having fun for a while. They will come to find us soon. The great elder was very clear about his daughter's temperament. Spoiled and willful. He didn't know why she was pestering Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang would give face to her, and let her do as she pleased most of the time. If she didn't contact him now, it was probably inconvenient for her to say it. Thinking about it, he didn't care anymore. The breeze pavilion master nodded. Let's go. Everyone, let's go to the southern region. The group of people flew up in an instant and headed towards the southern region. And as they released their auras, the numerous powerhouses of True Spill continent were all startled. What's going on? In the direction of the holy court of the Empire of Qin, they sensed the auras of the people from the breeze pavilion. In an instant, the Grand Supreme Dean's expression changed. How could there be so many powerhouses? The Grand Supreme Dean sensed that the auras of this group of people were extremely powerful, and there were so many of them. The weakest among them was a Saint Realm powerhouse, and there were thousands of them. Not good. When he sensed that they were heading in the direction of the southern domain, the Grand Supreme Dean jumped up in shock. He knew that Luo Qingtong had sent a message to Su Xiaoxiao and the others, asking them to go to the southern region to improve their strength. However, he didn't ask too much. From the looks of it, this little kid couldn't have found something incredible again, right? She had actually attracted so many people. If he didn't guess wrong, these people were most likely from the hidden world. Oh my god. It was possible to send a few powerhouses from the hidden world over here. There were so many of them, and they were so strong. Who knew how much effort it would take? What kind of good stuff did this last get this time? This caused the people of the hidden world to go to war. Not only that, judging from their aura, strength, and numbers, they were at least from a 6th class sect. Oh my god! The Grand Supreme Dean instantly ran out in a flurry. That evil Dr. Child and Ming Zun must hold on. Otherwise, he didn't want to have anything to do with the hidden world anymore. The Grand Supreme Dean had a bitter expression on his face as he hurried towards the southern mountain range. In the southern region, deep within the space at the bottom of the cliff, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming met a monster that was much stronger than any of the monsters they had encountered before. Boom! The monster walked like a mountain. Its entire body looked like it was covered in iron armor. It had 5 heads. The fur on its body stood up like metal, making it look like a hedgehog. However, those hairs could instantly become as soft as whips. Boom! The moment it saw Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming, the monster rushed towards them. Qianming, help me hold the line. Luo Qingtong looked at the monster rushing towards them and licked her lips. Chapter 1788. The immortal jade bone's quality was higher and bigger than the ones Luo Qingtong had encountered along the way. Obviously, this monster was the strongest monster in the space at the bottom of the cliff so far. Luo Qingtong looked at its strength. Holy Lord Realm. She murmured. Very good, this monster was very strong. But she liked it. Swoosh! Luo Qingtong's figure swept up in an instant and rushed in the direction of the monster. As for Yi Qianxian, when she asked him to help her, the sleeves of his robe behind his back moved slightly. Boom! The aura around the man's body surged out in an instant and shrouded the rushing monster. It didn't hurt it, but it blocked all its escape routes. Roar! The monster felt Yi Qianxian's aura shrouding it, but it didn't feel any substantial damage, so it didn't care too much. Bang! It raised its feet heavily in an instant and stomped fiercely at Luo Qingtong, who was rushing toward it. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't fight with the strength of a Holy Lord realm. She had hunted and obtained a lot of immortal jade bones along the way, so her strength had reached the level of a holy master. At this moment, she would use this monster to train and consolidate her strength. Swoosh! The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. Her figure seemed to be guided by something, and constantly flashed back and forth around the monster. The arc of every movement was just right, so the monster's attack couldn't catch her. The monster was dizzy from her movements, and it roared angrily. At this moment, boom! Luo Qingtong unsheathed the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand and slashed at the monster. Bloody cross slash. As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, in an instant, a beam of black and white light mixed with the blood-colored sword light formed a cross shape, flying forward in a whirling manner. Boom! The sword light slashed fiercely on the monster's body. In an instant, the monster was forced to take 2 steps back, but its body was unscathed. Obviously, this move's attack power was limited. Looks like I'll have to find another martial skill cultivation method to cultivate in the future. Otherwise, just this bloody cross slash alone is not enough. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She had chosen to practice the Crimson Cross slash when she had broken through to the Saint stage in the Saint King's tomb. She originally thought that it could be used for a long time, but she didn't expect that with the rapid growth of her strength, it was no longer useful. Swoosh! Seeing that the monster was attacking her again, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and jumped up again. She held her sword in front of her chest. Heaven conquering art. Heaven seizing move. As her voice sounded, a sword light as white as snow suddenly swept out in front of her and swept forward. That sword light seemed to have risen from the distant horizon. In an instant, it was as if the sun had suddenly appeared in the sky, as if dawn had broken. It was as if the sun had fallen from the sky, slashing horizontally towards the monster. Boom, boom, boom. The monster was instantly struck by Luo Qingtong's sword light and somersaulted violently. Chapter 1789. Gullies and abysses spread out from the place where its body had landed. The power of Luo Qingtong's attack was comparable to that of a holy lord. The monster's armor showed signs of cracking under Luo Qingtong's attack. It got up angrily, and the hairs all over its body shot toward Luo Qingtong. The hairs that looked like the spikes of a hedgehog all left its body in an instant and blasted toward Luo Qingtong. Seeing this scene, Yi Qianxian frowned slightly. The attack power of each of these hairs was comparable to that of a holy lord. Luo Qingtong might not be able to block 10,000 of them. He clenched his fists slightly and was ready to attack at any time. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's figure swept out. She rushed toward the monster in front of her in the face of the tens of thousands of hairs. Even a holy king would have to be on guard against the attack of these tens of thousands of hairs. However, for Luo Qingtong, she was least afraid of such a dense attack. As the saying goes, many ants can bite an elephant to death. However, Luo Qingtong was the elephant that was not afraid of being bitten by ants. Swish! The bloody pupils in her eyes were opened to the extreme. The blood-red light in her eyes seeped out and dyed the whites of her eyes red. Under the influence of this blood-red mist, everything in this world seemed to be just a foil for her. Boom! Luo Qingtong rushed toward the monster in the face of the hairs. The latter had just unleashed such a powerful attack, and the power around his body was at its weakest. Bang! Luo Qingtong waved the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand, and an annihilation was launched. The life and death yin-yang sword instantly turned into a death blade. The black sword light was like a rainbow, and it rushed straight toward the monster's core like the Grim Reaper reaping lives. Swish! Under Luo Qingtong's control, the huge immortal jade bone in its body was instantly pulled out by the long sword in Luo Qingtong's hand. In an instant, the monster let out an extremely sharp and ear-piercing roar. All the power in its body came from that immortal jade bone. Without that immortal jade bone, it was just an ordinary mutated monster. Under Luo Qingtong's sword light, it could not withstand a single blow. If it were anyone else, even if they knew that there was an immortal jade bone in its body, they would not be able to know where it was. They could only attack it forcefully until it was completely killed. Without the power of the immortal jade bone, these monsters were naturally unable to withstand a single blow. Swish! Luo Qingtong raised her hand to catch the immortal jade bone that flew into the sky. The monster screamed and tried to snatch it. But Luo Qingtong waved the sword light in her hand and directly destroyed it without the immortal jade bone as a source of power. Bang! The monster's body instantly exploded and fell to the ground. Chapter 1790. The immortal jade bone was the size of a fist, and its silvery gray hue was exceedingly obvious. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up when she saw it. She'd only learned after hunting along the way that the higher the quality of an immortal jade bone, the deeper its hue. This meant that the more death and resentment it contained, the purer and greater the power within. The silvery white bead she'd first obtained actually didn't contain much power, which was why it had displayed such a hue. And at this moment, the immortal jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand was so thick that it was almost dark gray. It was clear to see just how powerful and profound the power within was. Luo Qingtong had hunted so many immortal jade bones along the way, but none of them could compare to this one. Qianren, look. Luo Qingtong showed the immortal jade bone to Yi Qianxian, who nodded slightly. The immortal qi within this immortal jade bone is extremely rich. Moreover, it is much stronger than the previous ones. You'll be able to reach the holy marquee realm if you refine it. Just like the monster from earlier, it had been an ordinary monster beast, but after consuming the immortal jade bone, it had mutated and reached the holy marquee realm. However, it hadn't been able to refine the death energy within the bone, so it had become a mindless, bloodthirsty monster under the onslaught of death and resentment. However, Luo Qingtong was different. She could absorb the power of the immortal jade bone without any worries, as long as she let the ancient heaven spirit would purify the power of the immortal jade bone. Luo Qingtong nodded and released the ancient heavenly spirit wood sapling. The latter immediately wrapped its branches and leaves around the enormous immortal jade bone as soon as it came out. It was obvious that it was overjoyed. The death energy and resentment within the immortal jade bone was a great supplement for it. After all, it was the death energy and resentment formed from the deaths of those xenorace experts. It contained their remnant souls and willpower. Streaks of dark gray energy were absorbed by the ancient heavenly spirit wood. The color of the immortal jade bone's power became lighter and lighter. Soon it became pure white and transparent. At the same time, the ancient heavenly spirit tree swayed its 5 leaves and returned to Luo Qingtong's spatial ring in satisfaction. Its branches and leaves swayed in the wind, and it was obvious that the bud of the 6th leaf had already sprouted. Burp. Luo Qingtong watched its branches and leaves tremble violently, as if it had made a big burp, and then it disappeared in front of her. Her lips twitched, and she quickly turned her attention to the huge purified immortal jade bone in front of her. Qianren, I'll refine it first. Such a large immortal jade bone was enough to raise her power to the sacred marquee realm. Luo Qingtong wanted to refine it immediately. Yes. Yi Qianxian nodded. I'll stand guard for you, he said in a deep voice. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded and began to refine the immortal jade bone to raise her power. While she was refining it, Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others had already found the location of the hidden space. Master. The group appeared in front of Yi Qianxian and bowed. We've already explored that space. Should we go and close it now? Chapter 1791. The evil doctor was still improving her strength. Did they need to wait for her? There's no need. As if he knew what they were thinking, Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, She just killed a Saint Lord monster. Let her rest here. Although it seemed easy for this woman to deal with that monster, she had actually expended a lot of energy. What's more, if that space was really as he guessed, a passage to the outer realm opened by someone, it would be useless for her to go there. It would be better for her to have a good rest here. Yi Qianxian flicked his sleeves and said, Let's go. As he spoke, he waved his hand and a defensive light instantly descended from the sky, enveloping Luo Qingtong and an area of 100 meters around her. This was a defensive light condensed from Yi Qianxian's own aura. Unless one's strength was above his, no one would be able to break through this defense and hurt Luo Qingtong. Let's go. The group rushed in the direction of that space. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was completely immersed in the aura of the immortal jade bones. These immortal jade bones were really rare treasures. After the resentment and death aura of the dead were extracted and purified, All that was left was the life's cultivation essence and cultivation comprehension of the experts from the other regions. After their deaths, these auras condensed and did not dissipate. The most essential part formed the immortal jade bones. As Luo Qingtong refined and absorbed the power of these immortal jade bones, it was as if she had received the collective cultivation of these experts from the other regions. The realm comprehension and power essence flowed into her body endlessly, automatically driving the aura in her body to circulate. The circulation of these auras was the path of advancement that the experts from the other regions had explored before. Under the guidance of these auras, Luo Qingtong's strength broke through one barrier after another without any hindrance and continued to rise. The aura around her surged violently. The pure power of the immortal jade bones attracted many monsters that were drooling with desire. However, before they could get close to Luo Qingtong, they were shattered by the power of Yi Qianxian in the light circle. At this moment, those monsters no longer dared to get close to Luo Qingtong. They only dared to watch from afar. After an unknown period of time, boom boom boom, the aura around Luo Qingtong suddenly exploded. The energy in her body shot out rapidly and broke through the light circle that Yi Qianxian had enveloped her. Roar! Sensing that the layer of terrifying power around her had disappeared, the monsters that were watching from afar immediately charged towards her. Bang! They stomped heavily on the ground, causing the ground to tremble. The entire ground made a rumbling sound, as if it was about to collapse. Under the vibration of the sound, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly opened. Saint Lord! The aura around her body shook violently. Then with a boom her body shot up. Life and Death Yin-Yang sword. With the black and white sword in her hand, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and waved it. Boom boom boom. The monsters in front of her were all sliced into pieces by this sword. Blood rained down from the sky and mincemeat flew everywhere. Chapter 1792. Qianren isn't here? Luo Qingtong glanced around. She put away the immortal jade bones and thought that Yi Qianxian should have gone to the sealed space with Bei Qing and the others. Seeing that she was in the middle of a breakthrough, he didn't call her? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly, then a faint enchanting smile appeared on her lips. Since that's the case, I'll go back first. Yi Qianxian and the others shouldn't need her. It just so happened that she had obtained a batch of immortal jade bones of very pure quality. She could take them back to improve her grandfather's strength. When Yi Qianxian and the others were done, they should come out directly. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately got up and rushed towards the outer area. At this time, in the sky above the southern region, swish, one figure after another suddenly appeared in the sky. This is... A group of people from the Breeze Pavilion appeared in the sky above the southern region. They were shocked to see the shattered scene of the southern region. They weren't surprised by the destruction of the southern region. They were surprised by the scene of destruction, as well as the aura that was faintly mixed in. It's the aura of the land of the fallen immortals. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. In the hidden world, they had seen countless times when the aura of the land of the fallen immortals became violent, and the immortal jade bones erupted. Naturally, they knew what was going on in the southern region. They were all excited. Haha, I didn't expect that we didn't need to do anything. The space crack actually split open by itself. It looks like the immortal jade bones have already erupted and landed here. Let's look around. The group of people from the Breeze Pavilion was ecstatic. They didn't expect that they would be so lucky to encounter the eruption of the southern regions, heaven and earth's spiritual energy. Looking at the situation, the immortal jade bones should have already erupted. At that time, no one in the true Spill continent would be able to compete with them for the immortal jade bones. These things would all belong to them. When they returned to the hidden world, their Breeze Pavilion's reputation would surely soar, and their strength would rise to another level. After all, this immortal jade bone could be exchanged for many good things. Not to mention, the more immortal jade bones he had, the more rewards he could obtain from the land of the fallen immortals. That place was a treasure trove. Everyone was overjoyed. However, within the group, There was one person who was unhappy from beginning to end. Senior brother Lanue, what's wrong? A disciple of the Breeze Pavilion looked at him and asked. I'm fine. Yin Yuju shook her head. She looked forward and frowned slightly. He hoped that after the sect obtained the immortal jade bone, they would immediately leave the true Spill continent and return to the hidden world. Otherwise, she thought about how Song Yan had always been against Luo Qingtong, and how the Great Elder was accompanying the sect this time. He was really afraid that the other party would allow Song Yan to do something that would harm Luo Qingtong. Luckily, when they arrived at the true Spill continent, Song Yan and the others hadn't appeared. Yin Yuju also relaxed. As long as he quickly obtained the immortal jade bone and returned to the hidden world, he should be fine, right? As he was thinking, the Breeze Pavilion disciple beside him continued to speak. I say, senior brother Lanue, are you thinking about that girl called Luo Qingtong? Don't take things too hard. Let me tell you, junior sister Song Yan likes you. That's a good thing that many people can't even ask for. Chapter 1793. You have to know that our Breeze Pavilion is a 6th-class sect. In the true Spill continent, many people want to enter but can't. Don't be stupid. Moreover, even if you wanted beauty and not strength, you have to think about that young girl called Luo Qingtong, right? She can't withstand the Great Elder's anger. If you really don't want to marry junior sister Song Yan, I'm afraid the Great Elder will immediately send people to kill her. At that time, you won't be able to stop him. The words of this Breeze Pavilion disciple made Yin Yuejua's mouth full of bitterness. I know, his voice was difficult. He would no longer have any thoughts about Luo Qingtong. In fact, when he knew that Luo Qingtong and Blackfield Mingzun were in love with each other, he had already completely given up on her. He couldn't compare to Blackfield Mingzun. Not to mention, he still had the shackles of the sect. Thinking of this, Yin Yuejua felt sad. But that Breeze Pavilion disciple didn't care at all. Senior brother, it's good that you can think it through. But that young girl called Luo Qingtong and junior sister Song Yan are like heaven and earth. Before he could finish speaking, he saw Yin Yuju's gaze sweep over and instantly shut his mouth. But he was muttering in his heart. He also couldn't understand Yin Yuejua. She clearly had a great future in the Breeze Pavilion. But she didn't want junior sister Song Yan and liked a young girl from the secular world. She didn't even know if she could bear the price. Not to mention anything else. If she angered the Great Elder, that young girl called Luo Qingtong and her clan would be completely annihilated. He muttered in his heart and rushed out with the group. Yin Yuejua's heart was heavy, because the group of Breeze Pavilion people had seen the violent aura of the land of the fallen immortals in the hidden world. They quickly followed the traces and found the mountain range at the bottom of the cliff. At this time, Grandfather Luo, Suyu, and the others were constantly hunting monsters in the space at the bottom of the cliff. They divided up the work and attacked in an orderly manner. Tian Xia and the Luo clan's disciples formed their own small teams and constantly moved around the space at the bottom of the cliff, looking for the monster that had swallowed the immortal jade bone. The team formed by Su Xiaoxiao, Little Overlord Yuan, and the others began to slowly approach the depths due to their tacit understanding. However, they remembered Luo Qingtong's words and didn't dare to go too deep. They only dared to lure 1 or 2 more powerful monsters to hunt at the edge. Just as the group was busy working, Shwa! At this moment, several figures flew into the sky above the cliff. Is there someone down there? The people of the Breeze Pavilion, who were overjoyed because they had found the place where the immortal jade bone had erupted, were shocked when they discovered that there were people at the bottom of the cliff. Furthermore, they were hunting those monsters. The pavilion master of the Breeze Pavilion in particular had a stormy look on his face. They had paid a huge price to come here, but someone had beaten them to it? All of these people had to hand over everything they had obtained. Surround them for me. The pavilion master of the Breeze Pavilion coldly shouted. Don't let a single one go. Have them hand over all the immortal jade bones. Yes. Chapter 1794. At the same time, in the space at the bottom of the cliff. Grandfather Luo and the others also noticed that something was wrong above the cliff. Why are there so many powerhouses? Seeing the people from the breeze pavilion flying down, Old Man Luo and the others were shocked in an instant when they saw their majestic auras. Where did these people come from? Why were their auras so strong? Su Yu, immediately send a message to Tong Tong and the others. Tell them to get ready. Grandfather Luo's face was stern. They didn't care about so many powerhouses, but they had to tell Luo Qingtong and the others to get ready. However, just as he finished speaking, Su Yu's voice sounded. Grandfather, it's not good. The young girl's face was solemn. Her face was as cold as jade, like that of a noble young master, but it was filled with a solemn and dignified expression. I can't send a message. Master and the others are too deep. The fluctuations of heaven and earth's spiritual energy are too violent. In her hand, the light of a message was shattered before it could take off. It was clear that she couldn't find the target's aura. What? Elder Luo's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, the figures of the people from the breeze pavilion appeared in the space at the bottom of the cliff. Everyone, get out here immediately. Their auras spread out and shrouded the outer area of the space at the bottom of the cliff. Grandfather Luo and the others' figures were all locked in. Boom! Their auras were like rainbows as they directly sealed off the outer space at the bottom of the cliff. After all, the heaven and earth's spiritual energy fluctuations in the depths were too violent. Their auras simply couldn't reach in. However, it was enough to seal off the outer space. In the eyes of the people from the breeze pavilion, it was already a miracle that these people from the true Spill continent could hunt some monsters in the outer space. Did they want to go deeper into the space? The monsters inside were not something they could deal with. Even they would have to spend a lot of effort to deal with the monsters in the depths. Otherwise, why would they bring so many people out this time? Naturally, it was to prevent any accidents. After all, every time the heaven and earth's spiritual energy erupted in the land of the fallen immortals, the monsters that were born were many times more powerful than usual. Old Master Luo and the others were chased out of the room. Their expressions were grave, as they did not know what was going on. Where exactly did these people who were clearly around the Saint Realm, or even stronger, come from? The group was driven to the bottom of the cliff. There, the pavilion master of the breeze pavilion, the Grand Elder, and the others were waiting. Yin Yuju, who was standing not far behind them, immediately saw Old Man Luo and was instantly shocked. Master Luo, Empress Dowager Yanxi. He looked at Old Master Luo, Empress Dowager Yanxi, and the rest in shock, as well as the disciples of the Luo clan. Then he saw Su Xiaoxiao, Little Overlord Yuan, and the others. He didn't know Su Yu and Tian Xia, but he guessed that they must be related to Luo Qingtong. In an instant he sucked in a sharp breath. Pavilion Master. Before the Pavilion Master of the Breeze Pavilion and the others could say anything, he hurriedly stepped forward and said, "They are all friends of mine. I hope that the Pavilion Master and the elders can give them a way out." Friends, you know? The cool breeze Pavilion Master looked at Yin Yuju with narrowed eyes. Chapter 1795. Since he knew these people, it was not impossible for him to be lenient. After all, the breeze Pavilion Master only wanted the immortal jade bones. Thinking of this, the breeze Pavilion Master was about to speak. At this moment, a voice suddenly drifted over from the group. "Friends, I'm afraid it's more than that, right? Junior brother Yanyue, are these people all from the Luo clan?" A breeze pavilion disciple who usually did not get along with Yanyue Ju said sarcastically. He raised his hand and pointed at the Luo clan. Among them, there were quite a few people wearing the Luo clan's uniform with the word Luo embroidered on their chests. Hearing this, Yanyue Ju's expression instantly changed. At this moment, the great elder's voice also rang out coldly. "Luo? The Luo from Luo Qingtong?" His gaze was as sharp as a knife, and he fixed his gaze on Old Master Luo and the others. The great elder was very angry with Luo Qingtong. An ignorant woman from the secular world actually dared to snatch his Yenner's husband. She should see if she had the qualifications to do so. Now that he knew that Old Master Luo and the others were from the Luo clan, and saw how Yanyueju could not wait to help them out, his expression instantly turned extremely cold. Don't let any of these people off easily. Make them hand over all the immortal jade bones they have. Then break their legs and throw them out. Great Elder. Yanyueju spoke out in a hurry, but was fiercely shouted back by the Great Elder. Shut up. Yanyueju. Our Breeze Pavilion does not have any traitors. Why don't you try pleading for them again? The Great Elder's eyes were filled with killing intent. If Yanyueju dared to plead for these people again, he would immediately kill them all. He would let her know the consequences of disobeying him. How dare he help his sweetheart in front of me so blatantly? Did he think that he was dead? Great Elder. Yanyueju's heart was extremely anxious. At this moment, the Great Elder had already fiercely raised his hand. Search. Take out all the immortal jade bones they have. Yes. The people of the Breeze Pavilion responded, and rushed toward Old Master Luo and the others. When Grandfather Luo and the others found out that these people were from the Breeze Pavilion, and that they were here for the immortal jade bone, their expressions changed. Not because of anything else, but because of the immortal jade bones that they had just obtained, and the immortal jade bones that Lu Qingtong had purified for them. Those celestial jade bones must not be discovered by the people of the Breeze Pavilion. With that thought in mind, everyone immediately prepared to break out. Humph. You still want to resist? Then kill them all. The Great Elder's face was ice cold. He didn't like these people in the first place. Since they didn't know what was good for them, he would just kill them all. In any case, to them, killing some people from the secular world was just like stepping on a few ants. Even if these ants were relatively stronger, it was still the same. Yes, when the Breeze Pavilion's people heard the order, the aura around them changed instantly. They became murderous. Old Master Luo. Seeing the people of the Breeze Pavilion rushing toward Old Master Luo and the others, Yanyueju made up her mind. Then, she jumped out and stood in front of the people of the Breeze Pavilion. Great Elder, she said to the Great Elder, I am willing to go back and marry Junior Sister Song Yen. From now on, I will be loyal to her. Please let them go, Great Elder. Humph. Chapter 1796. He glanced around and saw something not far away. What's this? The Great Elder's eyes narrowed slightly. He raised his hand and pulled the thing in front of him. Then his eyes suddenly widened, and they became round and round in an instant. This is. While he was in shock, a gust of wind swept past and snatched the thing in his hand. Immortal Jade Bone. A purified immortal jade bone. The Breeze Pavilion Master's eyes were filled with shock. He looked at the immortal jade bone in his hand. The latter was exquisite and translucent, sparkling and bright. It looked like a high-quality glass bead. The Breeze Pavilion Master and the others had seen countless immortal jade bones, but they had never seen one like this one. It was brimming with an incomparably pure aura. The power inside could clearly be absorbed. What did it mean to be able to absorb the power of the immortal jade bone? Everyone was overjoyed. Ha ha ha. Good. Tell me, where did this immortal jade bone come from? At this moment, the Breeze Pavilion Master could no longer care about First Elder and Yanyueju. His gaze was fixed on Elder Luo and the others. These immortal jade bones were discovered by them first. They definitely knew the origin of these immortal jade bones. As for Old Master Luo and the others, their expressions had completely changed when the First Elder picked up the purified immortal jade bone. Oh no, they were still discovered by the other party. It must have fallen during the confrontation just now. Everyone's expression was grave. They quickly gathered together and stood back to back. They did not respond to the Breeze Pavilion Master's words at all. As for Yanyueju, when the Breeze Pavilion Master called out that it was a purified immortal jade bone, her heart went cold. With a purified immortal jade bone, Elder Luo and the others would probably not be able to escape this calamity. Yanyueju knew that a purified immortal jade bone had never appeared before. Now Elder Luo and the others were all here. Only Luo Qingtong was missing. Obviously, this thing had something to do with the other party. Thinking of this, he made up his mind. Elder Luo, hurry up and leave. I'll stop them first. He transmitted his voice to Old Master Luo and the others. The latter and the others were shocked. Falling Moonjade. Old Master Luo frowned. Let's go. Yue Yao urged anxiously. Don't worry, I'll be fine. The Breeze Pavilion Master and the others didn't get a reply from Old Master Luo and the others. When they saw how resistant they were, their faces instantly darkened. Capture them all and torture them one by one. I want to see if their mouths are all so tough. The Breeze Pavilion Master's eyes were malicious. The Great Elder also had the same idea. When he heard this, he immediately waved his hand and ordered the surrounding people to attack. Everyone from the Breeze Pavilion rushed towards Old Master Luo and the others. The aura around each of them almost shattered the heavens. Old Master, leave quickly. Ye fiercely pushed Grandfather Luo and the others, then rushed towards the people of the Breeze Pavilion, wanting to stop them. Seeing this, the first elder's face was filled with anger. Falling Moonjade. Bastard. His voice was vicious. Break his arms and legs, cripple his strength, and bring him here. Since the other party was bent on helping these people of the Luo family, then he would cripple his strength. Let's see how he would help then. Chapter 1797. Humph. You're really shameless. He said coldly. That's right. A disciple of the Breeze Pavilion beside him said in agreement. Junior sister Song Yin is such a good person, yet Yin Yuju doesn't even like her. Instead, he likes a woman from the secular world, and even disregards his sect for her. First Elder, he really wasted our Breeze Pavilion's nurturing. The one who spoke was the Breeze Pavilion disciple who didn't get along with Yin Yuju. Hearing this, the First Elder's expression became even gloomier. Humph. Beat him up ruthlessly. As long as you don't beat him to death, do whatever you want. Yes. The group of Breeze Pavilion people responded, and rushed towards Yin Yuju without any hesitation. Similarly, they were filled with murderous aura. Yin Yuju. Grandfather Luo and the rest originally thought that Yin Yuju would be fine as he said, but they discovered that it wasn't the case at all. Seeing the Breeze Pavilion people rushing towards Yin Yuju, Su Yu and the rest suddenly steeled their hearts. Protect Grandfather Luo and Empress Dowager Yin Shi first, they said to the Luo clan disciples. Then, their figures flashed and rushed towards Yin Yuju. Su Xiaoxiao, Little Tyrant Yuan, and the rest were in front, while Su Yu and Tian Xia's group were behind. Yin Yuju. Swoosh. A group of people appeared beside Yin Yuju, and Little Tyrant Yuan fiercely pulled Yin Yuju. With a boom, the skin all over his body became as hard as iron and stone in an instant. It could be soft and hard. Bang! Following the first attack, Little Tyrant Yuan and Yin Yuju forcefully withstood the attack and fiercely retreated. Then, Sima Ju Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu immediately rushed forward and blocked in front of them. Myriad Poison Barrier. Boom! The black aura around Sima Ju's body fiercely spread. The poison in his body spread out like a fog, dyeing his surroundings pitch black. At the same time, Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu both fiercely unsheathed their weapons. Mother and son twin swords. Purple Heaven Sash. In the pitch black fog, the two people's weapons, one silver and one purple, flew out in an instant and blasted towards the Breeze Pavilion disciple, who was preparing to attack again. Their weapons were in front, while Chu Wenhao and Ling Tianxin's weapons were at the back. Chua. Their weapons were hidden in the black canopy of poisonous gas, and they could not be seen at all. At this moment, Su Xiaoxiao, who was standing behind them, was spinning her fingers rapidly. Countless medicinal herbs flowed through her hands like flowing water. After which, she concocted a medicinal liquid that could detoxify and strengthen Sima Ju's poison. Then she waved it in the air. Among them, the liquid that automatically stuck to their bodies was the antidote, while the liquid that directly evaporated into the air was the liquid that strengthened the poison. Under the control of her medicinal liquid, Sima Ju's 10,000 poison body was unleashed to the extreme, and the poison barrier was strengthened by several times. As for those who were attacking them, they not only had to defend against the poison barrier's attack, they also had to defend against Ling Tianhan and Ling Yuer's attacks. It was simply impossible to guard against them. The moment Su Xiaoxiao's medicinal liquid evaporated, the Breeze Pavilion disciple, who was about to mobilize the energy in his body to attack, was caught off guard, and the energy around him suddenly stagnated. Chapter 1798. Bang! The group of people cooperated well, and killed a disciple who had surpassed the peak of the Saint Realm in an instant. What? The disciples of the Breeze Pavilion were shocked. They had not taken Su Xiaoxiao and the others seriously before this. After all, the cultivators in the secular world could not be compared to them. Moreover, Su Xiaoxiao and the others had just entered the transcendent Saint Realm. It seemed like they had just advanced not long ago, and their aura and strength had not stabilized yet. They did not expect them to be able to kill someone who had surpassed the peak of the Saint Realm. Even if they had worked together to kill the disciple, their combat strength was still very shocking. Moreover, they had killed the disciple in an instant. Did this not mean that every one of them had the strength to kill an expert who had just entered the transcendent Saint Realm in an instant? Everyone was shocked. Su Yu and the others went up to a Breeze Pavilion disciple, who was at the peak of the Saint Realm. Form the formation. Su Yu shouted coldly. The heavenly diabolism and the others behind her instantly formed a large formation. Everyone was standing in their own fixed positions. No matter how they moved, the formation remained the same. Boom! Following Su Yu's action, everyone's attacks swept out in an instant. Under the effect of the formation, they gathered together and strengthened their strength to the level of a Saint Realm expert. Then with a boom, they attacked the Saint Realm disciple of the Breeze Pavilion. Before the latter could react, he was hit by the attack, and his figure instantly retreated backward. Bastard! The Breeze Pavilion disciple's face was filled with anger. He was a core disciple in the Breeze Pavilion. Whether it was in the Breeze Pavilion or in the hidden world, his status was not weak. At this time, he was suddenly attacked by Su Yu and the others, and obviously suffered some injuries. Suddenly, he was very angry in his heart. He moved his body, and was about to rush towards Su Yu and the others when they stopped attacking. However, he didn't even have the time to leap up. Roar! A ferocious roar of a beast suddenly rang out at this moment. Purple fur flew in the air. A violent lightning beast suddenly appeared behind him. With a smack, it raised a huge palm that was like a cattail leaf fan and slapped his head off. The Saint Realm expert did not even have time to react before his head was separated from his body. After all, a violent lightning beast's combat strength was more than twice its previous strength. This lightning beast's strength was similar to Su Yu's, but its strength after it went berserk, it was comparable to a Saint Realm expert at the peak. Moreover, it had launched a sneak attack, so it succeeded in one strike. Bang! After killing that disciple of the Breeze Pavilion, who was at the peak of the Saint Realm, the lightning beast immediately raised its head and roared. After that, it stomped its feet and appeared behind Su Yu, squatting obediently by her side. Well done, little lightning beast. Su Yu's eyes, Su Yu's lightning. The enlarged thunder beast was no longer the same as when it was in her arms. Right now, she was only as tall as its ankle. Roar! The thunder beast roared happily, its voice shaking the heavens. What? The members of the Breeze Pavilion were even more shocked. The strength of this group didn't conform to the situation in the mortal world at all. How could they be so strong? Chapter 1799. What was going on? Since when did such powerful cultivators appear in the mundane world? And from the looks of it, these people looked so young. Why hadn't they received any news about such talented and powerful geniuses? Damn it! That bastard Zhang Diyu. What exactly is he hiding? The Breeze Pavilion master clenched his fists fiercely at this moment, his expression extremely ugly. The strength of Su Xiaoxiao, Little Overlord Yuan, and the others, as well as Su Yu and Tianxie's group, had completely exceeded their expectations. With such talent and strength, it was impossible for them to not know anything. The Breeze Pavilion master was almost furious when he thought of how Martial Uncle Zhang had cancelled the 4 academies' grand meeting. He must have hidden it from them. That bastard Zhang Diyu had actually let them miss such important information for his own selfish reasons. However, the Breeze Pavilion Master didn't know that they had missed more than just this piece of information. There was even more important information that they didn't know about. Pavilion Master, these people must all be killed. The first elder's voice was grave. If it was said that he had wanted to kill Su Yu and the others, because Yin Yuejua valued the Luo family, then this time, it was because of the terrifying potential and strength that Su Yu and the others had revealed. None of these people could be spared. Otherwise, he and the others would definitely be harmed in the future. Of course, the Breeze Pavilion Master's expression was also very gloomy. The strength and potential that Su Yu, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others had revealed made him very wary. Once these people grew up in the future, what kind of revenge would he and the others who had enmity with them suffer in the future? Whether or not we can obtain the method to purify the immortal jade bone this time, none of these people can be left alive. The Breeze Pavilion Master's voice was cold and gloomy. Tell all the disciples below the Saint Realm to retreat. Have those above the Saint Realm act. Those above the Saint Realm were almost all elders and protectors. The Breeze Pavilion Master's action could be said to be very important to Su Yu and the others. He was unwilling to let those below the Saint Realm take the risk. Yes, the members of the Breeze Pavilion complied. They had already recovered from the shock of Su Yu and the others' strength, and immediately retreated. On the other hand, the experts at the Saint Stage, and above, who were originally standing beside the Pavilion Master of the Cool Breeze Pavilion, and were prepared to watch the show, all moved to surround Su Yu and the others. Pavilion Master, let me personally capture them. The Great Elder's voice was ice-cold. He was at the peak of the Saint General Realm, and was only one step away from the Saint Lord Realm. At that time, he would be promoted to Grand Supreme Elder, and have the same authority as the Pavilion Master of the Breeze Pavilion. If he were to personally capture Su Yu, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others, it would be absolutely safe. This would also ensure that they would have enough survivors to interrogate about the matter of the purified immortal jade bones. All right, the Pavilion Master of the Breeze Pavilion nodded coldly. Let the Great Elder do it. Hearing that, the first elder leaped up and charged towards Su Yu and Su Xiaoxiao. Seeing this, Yin Yuju's expression changed greatly. Not good. Run. Don't worry about me. His heart was heavy. The Great Elder's strength was not something that Su Yu and the others could resist. He had to stop the Great Elder. Although falling into the Great Elder's hands would be a fate worse than death, it was still better than suffering together with Su Yu and the others. Thinking of this, he was about to charge out. Chapter 1800. What do you mean we don't need to care? Who said we don't need to care? As this voice sounded, Su Yu, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others were pleasantly surprised. Master. Boss. The group of people looked at the young girl, who came out from the depths of the space at the bottom of the cliff with joy. Luo Qingtong was dressed in black. Her robe was stained with the blood of many monsters, making the color even darker. Coupled with her peerlessly beautiful face, she looked like a gorgeous Azura, who had emerged from the depths of purgatory with a sword in hand. Her stunning charm could break one's soul. Qingtong. Looking at the stunning young girl who appeared in front of her, Yin Yuju's heart was filled with complex feelings. She was happy to see Luo Qingtong, but also worried and terrified. No matter what, he was partly responsible for what happened this time. If it weren't for him, Great Elder wouldn't be so hostile to Grandfather Luo and the others, and the discovery of the purified immortal jade bone wouldn't have happened. All of this danger was brought to Luo Qingtong by him, including Song Yan's targeting of her before. Yin Yuju felt very guilty. He felt that he had let down Luo Qingtong. If it weren't for this, he wouldn't have risked his life to save Grandfather Luo and the others. Luo Qingtong? Great Elder was already prepared to fly over to capture and kill Su Yu and the others. At that time, he could just leave a few alive to interrogate and kill the rest. However, before he could fly over to Su Yu and the others, Luo Qingtong appeared. Thinking that the other party was the one who made Yin Yuju ignore his daughter, Great Elder's face instantly turned cold. Then I'll kill you first. Great Elder changed direction and slapped towards Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Su Yu Su Xiao and the others' faces changed. Master Boss, be careful. After everyone's joy, they shockingly found that Luo Qingtong was actually alone. Ming Zun wasn't by her side. Everyone became anxious when they saw this. Great Elder was at the peak of the Saint General realm. How could Luo Qingtong be his opponent when she was alone? Master Boss, Su Yu Su Xiao and the others all rushed over without a care for anything. Yan Yuju's face also changed, and she rushed over to help. However, it was too late. How could their speed catch up to the peak of the Saint General realm? And his martial arts talent was extremely poor, so it was almost impossible for him to cultivate to a very powerful level. But it just so happened that he met Luo Qingtong. The girl opened the door to a new world for him, letting him know that his trashy soul seal was actually very powerful. Based on the theory Luo Qingtong told him, little tyrant Yuan played with his petrification soul seal like a hot stove. His defense could be hard or soft. With Luo Qingtong's help, his strength also advanced by leaps and bounds, completely shaking off his previous title of trash. At this moment, he was blocking in front of Luo Qingtong. He was already staking his life. After all, with Great Elder's strength, even if his petrification soul seal was 100 times more powerful, it still wouldn't be able to block it. But even if he couldn't block it, he still had to block it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.